Hi, I'm Emma, and I want to share with you the story of my first love, my teacher, Mr. Scott. It all began when I was in grade 10. We had a new English teacher at school, and his name was Mr. Scott. He was young, just 24, and very handsome. He had dark hair and kind brown eyes, and all the girls in the school liked him. During breaks, we'd often walk past his classroom just to catch a glimpse of him. Mr. Scott was friendly, polite, and well-liked by the other teachers. He kept things professional, never flirting or acting inappropriately, but I couldn't help but admire him. I thought he was the best teacher in the world. I never missed his classes and always did my homework, hoping to impress him. But I was a shy girl. While my classmates would joke around with him, I kept my distance, focusing on my studies. Sometimes I'd wear my favorite dress, hoping he'd notice me, and when he called on me in class, my heart would race. I was nervous, but I always answered his questions because I wanted to make him proud. Mr. Scott always praised me, saying, "Good job, Emma," which made me so happy. I spent the whole year thinking about him. I even dreamed about him at night. One day I found out where he lived. His house was near my neighborhood, and sometimes I'd walk past hoping to see him. If I did, he'd smile and say hello. If he was with his friends, I'd feel jealous, wishing I was the one with him. But when I moved to grade 11, something terrible happened. Mr. Scott left the school. He got a new job in another city, and I was devastated. I missed him so much that I even walked past his old house, but he wasn't there anymore. As time passed, I started preparing for my university exams. I joined extra English classes, and on my first day I couldn't believe it. I saw Mr. Scott again. He was the teacher at my new class, and I was overjoyed. He smiled and said, "Welcome back, Emma." Over the next 6 months, I worked hard in his class and became one of his best students. Sometimes we'd stay after class to talk. He'd ask about my plans for the future, and I'd ask about his new job. One day, he offered to walk me home, and I was so surprised and happy. After that, he often walked me home, and we spent more time together. We went to the park, watched movies, and talked for hours. I still remember our first kiss. It felt like a dream, and I thought Mr. Scott was the perfect man. But life threw a curveball. He told me he had received a job offer in the USA and would be moving there. I felt heartbroken, but we promised to stay in touch through letters. For a while we did, but eventually the letters became less frequent. I started college and we lost touch. 8 years passed before I found him on social media. I sent him a message, and to my surprise, he replied. We decided to meet up, and I was thrilled to see him again. When I saw him, I was a little shocked. He looked different, older, a little heavier, and his hair wasn't as blonde, and his blue eyes didn't shine the way they used to. We talked for hours, but something was missing. He wasn't the same person I had admired as a teenager. As I thought about our meeting, I remembered the young, handsome teacher who had made me so happy back in school. But I realized my feelings had changed. We all grow up, and what once mattered to us might not hold the same importance anymore. But I will always smile when I think about Mr. Scott, my first love. After our meeting, I felt both happy and sad. I was happy to see him again, but also sad because I knew that the love I once had for him was no longer there. The next day, I looked at old photos from school, pictures of friends, teachers, and even Mr. Scott. Those were beautiful days, but now my life was different. I had a job, new friends, and new dreams. I was no longer the shy girl who admired her teacher. A week later, I got a message from Mr. Scott. He thanked me for meeting him and said he hoped we could stay friends. I replied, thanking him, and we exchanged a few more messages. but I knew it was time to move on. One evening I walked through the park near my house and it started to rain. I remembered the time Mr. Scott walked me home in the rain, and I smiled. Life is like rain. Sometimes it feels cold and sad, but it also helps new flowers grow. I still think about Mr. Scott sometimes, but now I feel happy when I do. He was part of my story, but he wasn't the end of it. Life has a way of surprising us, bringing new people, new dreams, and new experiences. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share.